What's up, Andy L? It is a week before Black Friday, and we are just about done with, well, just about ready to open Block 2. Not necessarily done with Block 1 just yet, since we have 2 weeks with the block being open, but a chunk of games have been played, and we're excited to talk about what has happened and some stuff in Block 2. So before, I guess first I'll ask Vic, how are you doing? One of the co-hosts.
I'm good. I'm good. How's everybody doing?
Huh, tired. That's going to be a theme the next month and a half. Um, but we have a new member being added to the group. Coach Doc at Oregon State is joining the Outliers, so he will be a permanent fixture from here on in. Welcome to the team, sir. And how are you doing?
It's a pleasure being here. I'm good. Looking forward to this.
All right. Be some nice chats to come for sure. Oh, glad to have you on the team. And got some stuff to talk about. One thing I did want to ask you, Vic, since seems that you had a pretty exciting weekend. You want to share any details for the? I know it was
A
talked
lot of
about in the
my
live chat, but do you want to share
a
anything
lot
with us?
a lot of my details is not rated for PG. Um, a lot of stuff happened. Strip club happened. Regular club happened. A lot of stuff happened. It was wild. That whole night was wild. I I don't even remember what time I woke up. It had to be like 10, 11, like right before the NFL game started. Uh Sunday was pretty cool and I got a W. I got a W on Sunday. So started the season 1-0. Season started on my birthday. It was pretty it was pretty nice to be me Saturday. I just say it like that.
That's good stuff. Glad that you had a good birthday.
Yeah, sounds like a good
Yeah.
time.
Oh yeah, it was like I said, it is non PG. If anybody want to knows the details, it is non PG. I just say it like that.
Well,
We try to keep the cussing at a minimum. So
yeah. Shift's asking how much do you remember? I think you answered that one.
Yeah,
Um, well, I'll probably get the details later off camera. But glad you had a good weekend. And some of us are going to have a good weekend going forward because EA decided to just randomly, after not updating the game for forever, we're all just kind of waiting for the draft for, see if we're going to get updated rosters. We got it. And then they just randomly snuck in some player rating updates earlier today. So things are kind of interesting because the first thing that I saw, Rain put out a spreadsheet with the updated ratings. And the thing that jumped out to me, being in Conference USA, of course, I was able to look at my team as soon as I got home. But I saw Liberty, like, man, with everything already being locked in, win goals, conference goals and stuff, they dropped from being the clear-cut favorite in the conference to now being one of 6 teams with the top rating in the conference. So, man, a bad dice roll for Liberty, though they're not playing well in real life. So, a couple things that I just wanted to point out before we got started. One, you should probably check your roster and see if there's anything that's different. I do have the link saved on my phone. I can post if anyone wants to DM me where you can see individual player ratings, like the difference. So you see what actually changed for your roster. And you probably want to go through and update your depth chart again. We're in, I guess, in that part of the season where we're going to be updating that often. So a tad bit important to get that. And CG, I got you. I'll send it to you after because I don't have my phone in the room. Try to keep distractions to a minute. So I'll ask you guys, anything you're happy about with your teams?
Um,
Uh, you
Oregon
go ahead.
State. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead. You go ahead.
Oregon State. I got a bump in my wide receiver, which was nice. My defense went from bad to terrible, but you know, that's just what it's been like for the last 3 seasons. So I'll live with it.
Well, with my team, I got a 1 point bump for one of my receivers. I got a 2 point bump for one of my linemen, offensive linemen. I got a 1 point bump for one of my defensive linemen, and I got a 3 point drop for one of my linebackers. So there you go.
Ooh, I'll give you a true G5 representation here. My right tackle is a 72 overall, and he went up to a 73, and I was excited about that. My starting center is a 71. He went up to a 72. I'm excited about that. And I believe I use my backup free safety as my strong safety. He went up two, and my number one receiver, his speed went up to 90. Plus, I have a fast running back now. I just had a bunch of mini Derrick Henrys out there. Now I actually have someone that has decent speed that could break away. So that just kind of came out of nowhere. Pretty nice to have. I feel like in the G5, anything that you get, you're happy to have. But funny enough, the first thing I actually checked was, please tell me my quarterback didn't get worse, and please tell me that no one dropped. That's the first thing I look for, not even for the green, for the red. Did anyone's rating go down? Thankfully, no one did. So everyone should definitely check their ratings. That's a PSA announcement, and definitely your depth charts, because it's with the roster being updated, it's going to reset your depth chart. We all know how annoying that is, but you may, with block two opening up tomorrow, just check, get ahead of that, so you have no surprises when you boot up the game to get one of your games in. But with that said, let's jump in. First thing we can talk about are the initial polls for the season. So, we like to keep it G5 here. In the coaches poll, we had not as many teams as I was expecting. I was kind of curious to see. I knew we'd have at least one. I thought we'd have at least three, maybe two. Washington State was at 21 in the coaches poll. And then looking on the other side at the media poll, Washington State was 24. That's the only G5 representation in the poll. Looking at others receiving votes, Boise State was 28, UConn was 30, and then the next up would be Central Michigan. On the media side, Boise State 31, Memphis 32, and UConn 33, all grouped together. So my question, I'll give this to you first, Doc. Are you surprised by any of the G5 teams that were left out of the poll?
I was surprised about Boise State. You know, Irock does a really good job with that team, and he's always up there. I was surprised that he didn't get some love on continuation of his season last season. So that surprised me. And UConn as well. Rico, he was finished in the top, I think 15, 20-ish, and last season, and he didn't get any from anybody to continue that. And he's a solid player, so you would figure that he would have got it. But those are the two that stood out for me.
Okay, Vic, your thoughts?
Central Michigan and Boise. I would think Boise would be in there, and same for Central Michigan. Those are two mainstays of the G5 that are in the rankings. So I would thought they'd automatically be in the rankings. But To someone's point on PTD, there was a lot of movement as far as coaches is concerned. It was a lot of movement. So that movement may have caused a few people to rank a few other Power Five teams. Oh, I'm sorry, Power Four teams, and leave some of the G5 teams out.
Okay, fair point. And I guess in general, like just to go to the next point, it was talked about. I mean, RB is quite a lively discussion talking about G5 teams being ranked early in the season. What you guys, how do you guys, I don't know if, I don't remember seeing either of you guys in the discussion, so I didn't really get a chance to chime in, but I was curious how you felt about that as far as G5 teams being ranked in the top 25 early on, at least in the NDL.
I mean, why not? I mean, why not? Especially some of the mainstays. Like Boise is going to be ranked for more blocks than Georgia is at this point throughout this whole game cycle, to be honest with you. So why not? Why not
Yeah.
have a G5 in there? Like you gotta realize I'm taking the perfect example of this too. Both of those teams last season, Boise State was basically ranked the whole season, and Georgia was unranked after block one. This season, Georgia is probably going to be unranked after block two, and Boise will probably be ranked the whole season after block two. So why not?
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I think that if you're winning, you should be ranked. You know, I'm, and if your strength of schedule puts you there, you have the ability to be there, then you should be there. I'm not a firm believer, even in real life, if you are a G5 team and you're 6-0 and you played nobody, you shouldn't be ranked. But um, that's just me. I feel like there's, that competition that you play, like you have a team that has played higher competition, they're 5-1, and you're ranked over them or you're taking a spot away from them because you're 6-0 or 7-0. It just it's a hard pill to swallow sometimes when you see stuff like that. But I feel like if you play a good schedule and your schedule's tough and your out of conference games are tough out of conference games, there's no reason why you shouldn't be ranked.
It's a interesting conversation because I hear where RB's coming from, and I honestly tend to side with him some, but the hard thing about it, I would side with him in real life. The hard thing about the NDL aspect of it is we have to, like, when I just using myself as an example, when I did my preseason poll, Boise was in mine. He had a good season last season, and he's obviously keeping the same team, so there's no movement there. I felt like that was an easy one to keep. He finished strong, won his bowl game, won his conference. Washington State and Central Michigan weren't in my top 25, but they were in my top 30. 'Cause I actually do my polls to the top 40, so it makes it easier for me to, it makes it less work for me later on in the season. And I did have some G5 teams there. It's tough because for us, it's not just we're looking at the team, we're also looking at the coach aspect of it too. And it's hard to just take the raw team and their ratings and do a poll just based off of that because then there'd be some teams that, you know, I had Florida as number two. We all think highly of Jiggy as we should. He just was the runner up for the championship. Florida is not a number two team ranked in the country, but I have them ranked number two, and a big reason why for that is Jiggy. Penn State, like they have a solid team on the game, but they're going to get a bump for me because their coach is Smitty, and I like the fit. So I felt that they'll be ranked a little bit higher. I know it's different because it's P4, but it's hard not to look at the combination of coach and rating because we, especially at the start of the season, what else do we have to go off of? There's no resume for anyone. So I feel
Right.
like as you get further in the season and teams start to lose, they start to build a resume, it gets easier. But early on, the first polls are very difficult because they just are. You just don't have anything to go off of. I mean, I'd almost argue kind of like how I personally would like in real life. I don't necessarily see the need for a preseason poll. Just wait a couple of weeks into the season and do a first poll because at least you have something to go with. But I know polls and rankings are really important for college football, so I understand why they do it. But just from a, just from a aesthetic purpose, I feel like having polls early on is only going to complicate things more. But when we get to the midway point of the season, I think we'll be fine and things will slot accordingly as they should. And one other thing that I wanted to bring up, I don't have this on the outline, but I wanted to ask you guys, since we're talking about the top 25, polls are due tomorrow. Do you have a team that you would say in the G5 is the biggest mover? It doesn't have to be a team that we mention. It could be a team that has not been mentioned at all, or it could be one of the teams that we already talked about in terms of their block one results.
Well, one of the teams that we're gonna talk about is in mine, and that's East Carolina. East Carolina is definitely in my top 25, and they are definitely moving on up, as much as they go because that was a very big win over NC State that we will talk about here shortly.
Yeah, I moved Washington State up a little bit. I moved Boise, and I had ECU like kicking down the door. So um, those are my three movers that I had.
Oh, one other team that I know we're going to talk about because they're undefeated would be UTEP. They, I don't really know where I had them. I guess they were kind of just in the pack, and at least I feel like they've got eyes on them now for starting out 2-0. So I'll
Agreed.
say a mover there, and then yeah, East Carolina 2-0 and a win against a team that was in the playoffs last season, team and coach. Very impressive win to start the season.
That indeed.
So with that, let's talk about block one. Vic, I'll let you lead the way since, I know you've seen more of these than I have. We can start where you want to start, sir.
We are going to start right where I left off on the last question, and that is ECU over NC State. 31-24. Pirate avenges his team in real life because they lost a close one to NC State in real life to begin the season. Beat a ranked team to start the season. He pretty much had the lead throughout. Um, NC State was coming back in the second half and especially in the fourth quarter, but ECU held on. So very impressive. Very, very impressive. I liked everything I saw from Pirate, his offense, his defense. Didn't allow a kick return. That's a big thing this season. Didn't allow a kick return. I feel like we should keep tabs on that. Um, and pretty much held a power four offense, a explosive power four offense, to just 24 points, which is real big in this game here. Holding someone to under 25 points in this game is a big accomplishment. So hats off to him. Hats off to the big win. Hopefully he continues this momentum throughout the season and hopefully, challenges for that CFP spot with a couple of other teams. What are you guys' thoughts on the game?
I thought it was a huge win. anytime you get a school like ECU to go in North Carolina State, correct?
Yeah.
And I mean that's impressive in itself. So, but to be able to do that, I thought it was great, and you know it shows that anybody can beat anybody in this game on any given day. Like with the way sometimes EA has it out or just skill, it shows that no win is safe.
Sammy, what are your thoughts?
I was definitely impressed. I think the thing that stood out to me the most in the game was the turnovers because even though he turned the ball over 3 times, he's still able. I mean, he forced three as well. So I feel like the magic number is three. Anytime you turn over the ball 3 times, you're getting kind of nervous because turnovers hurt. Momentum hurts in this game, and you don't want to do anything to make it worse. And the fact that he was also able to get 3 turnovers back to even it out against a
Hmm.
team that's more talented. He didn't give up a third down conversion in that game, not one. So
No, that's crazy. That's crazy.
that is very interesting. And I know from what Homie did last season, his defense did play a big part in his success. You're looking at East Carolina, they've got a nice tandem at running back. Are they going to be able to get the ground game going? They run for a buck 75. So an impressive one to start. And turnovers, turnovers, turnovers. It's not always, I guess this is a story of it's not always the number, it's when they happen and what you do with them, and they find a way to win. And a ranked one to start the season is definitely what you like to see.
Well, the next game we got the coach on, so we're gonna let him talk about his game and his big win over a Power Four school, which is a Doc's Oregon State Beavers 45, UCLA 40.
Yeah, it was a big win. Me and Lewis have been playing each other for this is our 29th season that we've been playing each other on week one. So we kick off the season with each other every week one, and having the ability to be up in the battle 16-13 is good, but all of our games are crazy games. And the way it started out was he was up 7-0, and I couldn't, my connection was horrible. And so I was like, hey, you mind starting over? And I said, because I can't even get a pass off. And so, of course, he was, yeah, no problem. So I rebooted my router, got it back, started off, and I mean, it came down to the end of the game, and at the end, in typical Lewis fashion, I said, "Hey, man, take the 7 points. You can win this game." And he was like, "No, you deserve this one." And but it was just it was so much fun, when you play a team like UCLA and you're Oregon State, and you're making stops and you're making plays, and you're keeping somebody who normally has a high powered offense, within reasonable amount of points is 40 because he normally scores 50 or 60 on me. So I was happy with the win. I was happy with the way my team played. My quarterback is on fire. He has 10 touchdowns so far this season and one interception. Um, so they just played really good offensively, defensively. Hankerson was a load that game. I think he broke 11 tackles. So that really helped in short yardage situations. It was a great game.
Those
And a
broken
big
tackles.
win.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to ask a
Definitely a
question
big
for
win.
you, Vic. Um, I think it's pretty cool. So I know we give Shell some, you know, whatever you want to call it. When people give Shell some crap for his out of conference schedule, but there are a lot of vets in the league that play like their out of conference is set in terms of coaches. So it's not necessarily the team, it's who is the coach. We play every season. all right, this is who we have, and you're just deciding home and away. So I know you haven't been around in the league as long, but I like to ask you, Vic, do you have one of those coaches, or do you see one of your out of conference guys as a coach like that in the future for your NDL career?
Yeah, me and Wobbles play every year. No matter the team, me and him play every year. We usually play first block of the season every year. He was my week one opponent this season. We had played. I did get the win. That New Mexico team can be. He got some things working with that New Mexico team, but um, me and him play every year. The rivalry was born outside of the NDL. Actually, it was in an online dynasty that we were in. I was App State, and he was Georgia Southern, and so we played every year at the end of the season, and it was always a highly contested game, and everything. We always loved how we played against each other, so we took that in season 31 and made it an annual thing. And me and him play every season. We played ever since 31, so 31, 32, 33, and now 34. We played four times, and we're going to continue to play.
Good stuff. I have one. I had more, but since we've come back, it's just haven't crossed paths yet. I used to have, oh boy, Dolomite Sooner, man. You want to talk about having some interesting chats during games. If anyone remembers Dolomite,
Yeah.
those conversations were always just, I don't even know how to put it into words. Like, I almost felt like it was the 12th man trying to talk to him while playing the game because you just have some of the most off the wall topics out of nowhere. But playing him, playing Bear Ass, me and him used to play every season. It was fun when he had Oklahoma and I had Nebraska because they're rivals in real life. So being able to bring it onto the field and just an awkward hour for both of us because we both needed the win. And then now, IROC, since he's been in the league, me and him play every season. And I think the only reason that we didn't is if I want to say New Mexico, when I had New Mexico, they weren't on Boise's schedule. So I was trying to find a team on his schedule. Like, yeah, I'm going to join the Mountain West. But the teams that were there available at the time were terrible. Like, I'm sorry. Like, we're just going to have to take a year off because I do not want either of these rosters. So if we meet, we'll have to meet in in the championship game. But I think it's really cool that a lot of coaches still do have that. It's something to look forward to every season, and especially with guys that you know how they play. You don't have to worry about any extracurricular stuff, and just gives you something else to talk about with a buddy in the league.
Yeah, I played six for many years. Kane, Rico, like my whole schedule is made up of people that I've played for many seasons.
That's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
That it is. That is pretty awesome. Hey, I just want you. I want to inform you, Doc, that I need you to tell Tim, don't run from the grind next time.
I knew you weren't going to forget that. I just
Oh, I'm probably gonna bring it up every show. I'm not gonna
knew.
I'm looking forward to our game, Vic.
lie. I don't talk about me much. Let's we'll keep it at that. Well, no, we'll talk that week. We'll build it up that week. Don't worry. We'll definitely build it up. The next game that we're going to talk about is the aforementioned Boise pulling up to Tempe, Arizona, and getting a win over Arizona State, 42-38. What are you guys' thoughts on that game? I think it was an unbelievable performance by Boise. Shout out to him. And after the game that Chase had against Virginia, it was only like right that he was going to have a letdown after that huge victory.
Well,
But I
I
think this game was played first. I want to believe. I think this game was played first.
I'll be honest. I messaged IROC, and it was jokingly, but it's kind of funny because he ended up winning his other game in Block One. We don't have to talk about that. But I messaged him that, I think it probably would be best to start scheduling you out of conference in the second block because your wins in block one are those soul crushing losses that leave you up at night. So if you remember Boise last season, he was down to Georgia Tech, where UF was the coach, with under 2 minutes to go and on defense by 14 points. And he forced overtime and won. Sick. He played Florida State. Don't remember who the coach was, but he was down 21-3 and ran off 35 points in a row and then held on to win at the end.
Man,
Neither of
whoever
those,
that coach was,
yeah,
man, that was terrible. That was terrible for that
yeah,
coach.
it sure was. 'Cause both of those teams had a bad season, and it was a rough start to the season. So then you see this game. You see this game where he like they're going back blow for blow in the first three quarters, and then you get the lead late. You get the stop to the fourth down call. It was an RPO, and he gave it to the running back, tackled, boom, and you're like, all right, heck, man, Arizona State, they're going to have to get a first down to get a first down. Game's over. Fumble. Boise State recovers, a bomb into double coverage. That's caught, and not too long after, Boise scores late, like with under 30 seconds left, and you're just like, again. So now we're watching Arizona State. Like, man, I know this is not we're not talking about P4 teams a lot, but I'm just watching. Like, is this Boise curse going to continue? Because that's a tough way to lose that game. I'm not gonna lie to you. I need Arizona State to have a good season because I need to know that it's possible to not lose to Boise in Block One and have a bad, finish the rest of the year. But those losses like that are tough to take. But when you're on the other side of it, man, does it make you feel good? That just shows everyone seems to have their identity of how you would like to win a game. The fun part is when you're not able to win the way you want to, and you're just able to find a way to get the job done. And Boise,
Yeah.
that's exactly what they did in that game.
Yeah, and I can speak on that. Wyoming did a number on me at the end of the game, and it's the worst thing to be on the end of that. But like it's fun too, right? Because if you're into the game and you're playing somebody and they toss one up and they somehow come down with the ball and break two tackles and run it into the end zone for 81 yards, like all you could do is tip your hat at that point, and say good game.
Sounds
It's
like you got a little familiarity with that.
Well, yeah. I mean, we it was it was a really good game. Like with 15 seconds left, he's like, "Hey, man, good game." Whatever. 1 second left on his, I don't know, 19-yard line. He just threw one up to his tight end. His tight end between two guys comes down with it, splits both of them, and bolts into the end zone for a 39-38 win.
I'm just gonna chip in real quick. If you don't know what he's talking about, you might want to go check out the highlight competition because
Oh yeah, that's right. We posted it there.
that is probably going to be the winner for Block One, as it was deemed the Hail Wyoming. So if you would like to actually see that, definitely go check it out in that section because it's there. So yeah.
The Mustard Mary is what I called it.
Oh
Oh
man.
yeah, the hell
It was
Wyoming
painful. It was painful,
mustard
but all I could
Mary.
do was laugh. Like when that happens to you, and you know, I it was just like, come on. I mean, I know they were at home and they get that little boost, but like it was a good game all game long. But I mean, Oregon State did enough to win that football game, and for it to end that way, it was kind of like, oh. man. But at the end, you just kind of laugh and you go, man, that was a really good game. But
As
it's cool.
the top picks of the highlight of block one shows, not only is there 1,000 ways to die, there's 1,000 ways to lose.
Exactly.
Sadly, yes. Sadly, yes. And I feel bad because I know the game we're about to talk about next. Brady just happened to hop in the chat. Hello, Brady. You may want to mute for the next 90 seconds.
And that game is Arkansas versus App State, 31-28. Brady had it going in the first half. I mean, had it going. Ground and pound, as I like to call it, was in full effect. And then the pick six happened in the third. And ever since then, it went downhill. The momentum went downhill. And it was just a far climb to come back to the mountaintop. And he fell short by 3 points, but it was a great effort nonetheless, especially against a player like Devin, which usually you have to score 40, 45 points to. But that ground and pound definitely neutralized his attack, his high flying attack, and he only managed 31 points, 24 on offense. So, what are you guys' thoughts on this game?
I was surprised. I I mean, I play with Brady in another dynasty, and he really good player. And it's I was surprised that he didn't win that game. And I know Devin's a good player, but like there is just I mean, if you look at the stats, you know, um, and the way he held Devin's offense in check for the most part. I mean, he needed what four runners to get 125 yards, and like it was just one of those things. 201 yards passing, one touchdown. Like he's so good at defense, and I just I was surprised that he lost the game as you watch the game played out. And I agree that turnover was was the dagger. But at that point, I thought that he would come back and at least get one more score within that. But it's just it was that one was a tough one because I mean he had control of that game.
It's it was an interesting watch. I got to watch all of the game, and the thing that stood out to me, there's two things that stood out to me about App State. One was the fact that they went on the road and dealt with the SEC home field advantage because, as we've known in the live chat over the last week, clearly home field advantage is something that is very difficult to deal with. And he went in there and said, eh, we're game. We're going to make this happen. To lose by three at Arkansas and finish -3 in turnovers to me is very impressive given the talent disparity. And also the fact that he passed for over 300 yards. Because I know last season, man, it was fun watching his games because he just pounded the rock down there in the Sun Belt. And he showed that, hey, we are more than just a running team. We're able to pass the ball. And to do that against the defense is definitely better than the ones that you're going to see in the Sun Belt. It just shows that App State is the more complete offense than we may have seen play out through the course of the regular season last season. So they are, it's a tough loss to swallow. When you're ever in a game late, you like to be able to get the win. He doesn't get the win. But to me, it's still an impressive showing, and I know that he'll carry that forward going out the rest of the year.
Oh, absolutely.
Him, G5 wise, and Smitty power forward wise are going to show you that no matter the venue, if you have a strong run game, no crowd can phase you.
Very, very true.
The next thing we got up here is we're gonna have a 2-4. and that is the Block 1 games of Southern Miss. He lost 52-45 to South Florida in week 1, but bounced back. Some controversial stuff happened at the end of that game, but he did bounce back 34-31 over UCF. It was a struggle on defense for him. He did get 2 stops in the second half, which is what he needed. He got the ball with about 2 minutes, 2+ minutes to go, and then drove it for about a minute, minute 20 to take the lead. Then UCF promptly turned the ball over. He got it back. Still had 3 timeouts, but got the first down and closed out the game. What are your thoughts on specifically the Southern Miss UCF game?
Go ahead, Doc.
Um, that one I unfortunately wasn't able to catch. So, as I was just kind of pulling up the stats for it and whatnot, but I was not able to catch that one.
All right, well, I can jump in for that. It's funny because I felt Big Red's pain as I know he was very frustrated because he just lost to South Florida in the same manner that he has suffered for the last 2 seasons out of conference. Like every loss is out of conference and it's by a score. It comes down to the last drive and it's so frustrating. The season started the same way, and then he's in a situation in the very next game where it looks like he might be going down the same road. But a clutch drive, uh, very key convert on third down, and I mean very key convert on third down. And he's able to get the ball in the end zone. And defensively, like I know there's a lot of people that don't feel confident with their defense on the field. They want the ball, and his defense comes up with a big turnover and able to get that first down and run out the clock. A big way to bounce back after suffering a tough loss.
Definitely. And shout out to my guy Jordan over there in South Florida. We will be doing the highlight competition. Me and him are taking over the highlight competition this season. So if you got highlights, you want to clip your highlights, we will spotlight those highlights in the season 34 competition. Next game we got in the last game we got to review here is Michigan State 38, Central Michigan 36, the rematch of the rematch. If you know, you know. And this game was competitive throughout. It was a little bit of back and forth, and then Michigan State went ahead and took the 10-point lead, I believe. No, I think 13-point lead. Central Michigan got back in it, got a crucial stop late in the fourth quarter, drove down the field, got a touchdown, but failed on the 2-point conversion. What are you guys' thoughts on this game and how close it was and everything that happened between those two?
Doc, you can go first.
Okay, yeah, I thought again these games that are close like this, they're always the ones that just suck. Like, I mean, when you're knocking on the door of a win and you can't convert on that 2 point conversion, that's just got to be that's like the worst feeling in the entire world because you fight all game and you have these situations where you just can't knock on the door and you know in this game sometimes that those 2 yards are the hardest 2 yards to get, especially when the game is on the line. So that would have been a tough pill for me to swallow in that one.
Yeah, I need to get a 2 point conversion coordinator. I don't think I've converted one since. we've been back at all. So I can attest to that. The short yardage plays, it's so tough. It's
Yeah,
scary to run it because you don't want them to guess run, but even when they guess run, you're passing the ball. It's like you have to be very sure that that guy is going to be open.
right.
But
Definitely, definitely got to have a 2 point package there. And even then, the plays probably won't work out because it's so congested in the end zone.
it's something that Pat brought up earlier, and it's funny because whenever I call a 2 point conversion, I do it, but it doesn't work for me anyway. I it annoys me so much watching teams come out and putting everyone, like all 22 guys are lined up down in the trenches damn near. Spread out the defense and force them to show their hand. It's just if you're going to run the ball, there's less that you have to go through. If you're going to pass, you still may have to get through some traffic, but it's tough when you have all those guys down there. 'Cause I mean, old school football was you just go eye tight goal line and run it. It's so
Yeah,
hard to do that in this game because if someone misses a block, it completely blows up the play. You're having to rely on everyone get to do their job and then someone to do it a little better to get a push somewhere. It's a tough ask. Central Michigan will bounce back. They'll be fine. And it's pretty
yeah, for
cool that
sure.
him and Metro D got to play again so quickly after the way the season ended last season in the MAC championship. Hopefully, they'll get to continue to play each other going forward. Maybe this will be a rivalry if they both, well, we assume will stay at Central Michigan. If Metro D stays at Michigan State, maybe it'll be a budding rivalry between Michiganers, Michiganeers, whatever they call themselves up there. We'll have to see.
We definitely gonna have to see. And one last game I forgot. I forgot. Uh we do have one last game, which is the close 1 point victory that was done today. Memphis lost to Mississippi State by a point, 28-27. This game was back and forth. Memphis was able to take a 10-point lead for a little bit of a stretch, and then Rock got a touchdown. At the end of the third quarter, Memphis got another field goal in the fourth quarter. And while Rock was driving, the dreaded the sync happened and they lost connection. So they redid it back for a quarter and Rock got the touchdown and an extra point. Joker tried to, throw a couple Hail Marys, but it got intercepted at the end of the game. And that is your score, 28-27. Have you guys ever lost on a desync before? That's the question. That's the only question. It was a back and forth game, nice game, close, highly contested, like we thought it was gonna be. Me and Sammy did think that this was gonna be a close matchup, and it was throughout. But have you guys ever lost this way before?
Plenty of times. Plenty
Uh,
of times. And it's one of those things where, you know, it's because of momentum in this game. That's what I hate about having to restart a game. I would rather just say I'd rather figure out a different way to do it, but there is no other way to do it. But with that way that momentum swings and you're up a touchdown or 10 points with a few minutes left in the game and all of a sudden you throw a pick or you fumble or and then momentum is just turned over and the momentum swings in this game they're huge and that makes for it to be tough when you have to start a game over because you've lost all the momentum you've gained.
yeah, the worst thing about a disconnect is recreating recreating the scenario can be difficult at times, but I think reasonably we all can find a way to do that. It's recreating everything else that's the problem.
Yeah.
Now, this running back was hot. Maybe his badges were boosted because of his play. That's not there. This receiver had a bad game. He was dropping balls. Now all of a sudden he comes in just fresh. It's just everything seems to be different. Can I trust my left guard who has been blocking well through the last hour to block well when we restart? Little things like that, the hot and cold, just not even necessarily the full team momentum, just the players, as they fluctuate throughout the game. What can you expect from those guys? And I feel like when you
Yeah.
get to the fourth quarter in a game, I have a good idea of who I can trust to throw the ball to, where I can trust my blocking to come from, or defensively who I can trust to make a play. When you have to start from scratch and then it's just for a short period of time, all that goes out the window. It's really tough. You hate to see it.
Yeah.
I've lost and won like that. I lost in season 30, just like Joker's lost. But I won last season because it was a first or second quarter descent, and we agreed to replay the whole game because it was pretty bad throughout, and ended up winning the game.
Man, I just wish they didn't happen. 'Cause it's hard enough it can be hard enough sometimes to get that hour window to schedule a game.
Yeah.
You don't want to make it worse. Like, people have their sleep schedules, they've got kids, they're, you know, whatever they have going on. You just want to get it knocked out then so you can go on about what you're doing. Like, you don't want the extra headache of, okay, well, we have to figure out how we recreate this situation. And then statistically, like, what are you going to do? You're going to go back and average the stats, add the stats, it's just creating extra work. But that said, I'm glad that it was a fun game up until that point. Both really good coaches. Jokers is making looks like he's making his stay to be, join Washington State, Brady, and Central Michigan as mainstays in the G5. Oh, a good showing against one of what I believe to be the elite user coaches in the league. Oh, Mississippi State is going to go on and have a good season. Tough loss, but Memphis will bounce back.
All right. Well, what are the storylines that you guys are really liking from Block One?
I like the way that some of these teams are standing out, like UTEP and ECU, Kent State, Buffalo. I like, Appalachian State. Uh, just the way that these teams are winning games, and or even being so into the game that it makes it fun to watch, and to watch them get some big upsets. Arizona State was upset. Um, who else did we get that was upset? Arkansas was almost upset. You had ECU beating NC State, Oregon State beating UCLA. Like, so, as far as the G5 goes, I think the conference, the G5 has started out good in beating those teams that they probably shouldn't have been beaten. So I think it's pretty exciting. It's going to be an exciting year, kind of following this and watching it, because I think there's a lot of good teams and a lot of good coaches.
I think though the one thing that stood out to me so far, like let's be honest, we just had a very long discussion about this on PTD about the defense, lack thereof, and the reasons why, and in live chat for a good chunk of the week too. I don't hate points, but I do love watching a good defensive struggle from time to time and seeing a couple of games where the punter actually had to do their job. I feel like whoever they just get free money, in the NIL for just literally being in the game. They don't have to do anything for anyone because no one ever punts the ball. The drive either ends in points or a turnover. That's what it's felt like quite often. And you know, the clash of style was nice. And watching Memphis and Mississippi State, neither team gets over 30 points. The user able to defensively impact the game. Watching a guy like Brady who's going to run the ball and force the game to be played at his pace, a slower pace, fewer possessions, likely fewer points. That's kind of the intent. And just to see not everything being, four wide, five wide, and just putting up 50 points because we see that in a lot of games. And don't get me wrong, it's exciting to see those games, and especially when it goes back and forth. But it is nice to see some defense too, and to see some old school football from time to time, if not even for a full game, just for a solid half. It was nice to see that in block one.
I like I like both of the ideas you guys said. Shout out to Mr. Omaha UTEP. That's your shout out right there, buddy. You told me to shout you out. I got you. Like what Buffalo's doing. And as far as the clash of styles, I'm an offensive guy. I like high scoring games that flow, if you understand what I'm saying. If both offenses are flowing and it's just like here, there, this 7 play drive, this 8 play drive, this 6 play drive, this 10 play drive. It's just back and forth, and the offense is just flowing, and it's just a chess match offensively. Then I love that. I also love the chess matches defensively, like we saw in the Mississippi State game, and also a game I saw between TCU and Syracuse that was a defensive chess match. I like to see the chess matches when they go both ways, offensively and defensively. So it's going to be a lot of high scoring games because the defense is the defense and EA is EA. But there is a way to find defense. Not every game of the 12 you're going to score 50 points. There's no way, no how. Some games you're going to score 24. Some games you're going to score 56. You just have to figure out a way to win. Either way. Now, we have block 2 coming up tomorrow. What we're going to do is to I want you guys to give me 1 point, 1 point about each game and give me a winner for each game. We're going to start with Kent State at Buffalo.
Good one. Like it's going to be really good. I think Buffalo's going to be a little too much for Kent State defensively, so I look at Buffalo to win this one.
Sammy.
I'm gonna agree. The receiver's name escapes my mind right now. That trying to remember his name. Darius Clark. The
The realest
weird,
Clark, yeah.
the weird. Like I legit laughed out loud when I saw that name. Like, wow, what are we doing, parents? But he in through 2 games, he's got over 200 yards and 20 receptions. So to me, for Kent State, Andy is going to be keying on him to limit what he does in the game. So will he be able to find some help from his teammates? But I do think that Buffalo's offense is a headache, and them being at home, I look for them to be able to continue put up points, and they move to 3-0 to start the season.
The realest got to be from the South.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm going with Buffalo. I'm going with Buffalo. I'm going with Buffalo. They're gonna outpower offensively Kent State. Next game we have is Southern Miss at App State. Sammy, you go first on this.
I think App State is going to break the cycle for Big Red. I apologize in advance. That run game is nasty, and the fact that he was still able to be productive running the ball on the road against Arkansas, who is definitely the best talent talented defense, or rating wise, that's the best defense he's going to face all season. So now he's coming home. I think that Southern Miss is going to struggle stopping the run, and it's not just about stopping the run; it's what happens off of that, the play action, because it's just like you were saying earlier, Smitty, the P4 version, or you could say that Brady's the G5 version of him. It puts you in a tough spot because you have to kind of sell out to stop the run. You're not going to be able to just say, "Hey, we're going to drop back and the front guys are going to stop the run." You have to bring extra help, and that exposes you in the pass game. And I can see a couple of big pass plays to open it up scoring wise, and I think it's going to be, I say App State by at least 3 scores. I think this is going to be a ugly one for Southern Miss.
Doc, what you got?
I agree. I think Appalachian State can do what he's going to be able to do whatever he wants when he wants to do it. And you know, you pack the box on him, he can throw the ball. I agree. It's going to be a 3 score game, and there's going to be no looking back. Once those first 2 scores are put up, and they're going to put Southern Miss in a big bind. I'd be surprised if there was any other different outcome.
2 words: ground pound. All
Yep.
right. App State. We're going to go back to back with App State because the next game they have on their schedule is the Power Four version of themselves. We have Penn State and App State. Sammy, give me the keys to the game and who's going to win.
This is the ultimate Spider-Man meme game. You know, the one where they're pointing at each other. This it was made for a game like this. Like I would swear that they're clones. Man, I hate picking against App State in a because he just played well against Arkansas, and that's a unique offense to play against too. And for him to be able to slow him down is very impressive because I mean Higgins just put up like felt like 80 points against Rutgers. Oh boy. I think Penn State's gonna roll in this one because that run game is also very good, but it's the talent of the offensive line, and my God, those running backs are ridiculous. If anyone did not see the Penn State Georgia game, it's definitely worth a watch back. Great scheme for sure by Penn State, scheming up the block or scheming up the runs, but those broken tackles, these breaking tackles against Georgia, I am terrified of what he might do against App State's defense. They're gonna have their hands full trying to slow down that run game, but I will say this may be the fastest game in NDL history. With the way these two guys run the ball, we might only get 6 possessions total in this game. But I think Penn State wins this one.
Doc, what you got?
Man, I think it's going to be a lot closer than people will think. I really do. I just think the way that Brady can run too, and he can also play defense. He got really good user skills as well. So that helps when you have a lot less talent. And you know, Arkansas's got good running backs, and he did a pretty good job of holding them in check. And I don't think he's going to win, but I can see this game being a lot closer than a lot of people will think.
Total over under of minutes played in this game 45. Um I'm going to go with Penn State, but it is going to be close. I say about a 10-point game. They're going to win by. Kind of sucks, but it does show that he may still, if he runs the table, like he did last season in conference. These two games, especially if he plays Penn State close, these two games, no pun intended, but very pun intended, are outliers for him when it comes to the committee.
Yep.
Next game we have is Utah at Boise State. Doc, give me the keys to the game and who you think is going to win.
Uh, I think Boise's going to win. I really do. I think what this comes down to is, you know, just the ability to
Oh,
know your team and know what they can and can't do. And it's at home. I feel like Boise State does a good job of running the ball, playing good defense. I think Utah too does a good job of all of that. But I really do. I really think this is going to be an upset, and Boise wins this one by a touchdown. I really see this as going Boise's way.
Sam.
Well, I'm obligated to pick Boise. This sucks. Like it's it's my two favorite people in the league. No offense, Vic, but it's my two favorite people in the league. I don't want to have to pick, but I'm obligated to pick Boise. I'm really curious to see how Boise's defense will match up against Pat's play calling, but I just hope it comes down to the last score.
Yeah, it will. I think that's what it's going to come. I think that's what it's going to come down to. And if he can match Pat's play calling, you're absolutely right. I think he's got to win. But you know, and how he plays defense is going to be a key to that as well. I just think knowing the team and understanding what they can do really helps in games like this.
I'm gonna go really selfish because for my sake, I'm finna avoid what happened to me last season. So Pat is gonna win. Pat is gonna win. Yep, he's gonna win week 3 and week 4. Yep, you hear me call it right here because he plays a certain somebody week 5, and I don't need no backlash of any of those losses. So he's gonna win both of those games. You understand me? He is gonna win them. Next we got next the next game was already played because AU Tiger is gonna be out next week. Next week is Thanksgiving week, so that is fair, and we all have families and families coming in for the week and stuff like that. So he has a situation like that. So they played today, and Central Michigan got the win 38-35. Doc, talk to us about how that game ended there.
Yeah, it was actually a pretty exciting game down to the end. Central Michigan had the ball, and they ended up scoring, I believe, with 18 seconds left, and it was a great last drive. Used the clock the proper way, got the ball down the field, and ran it in from like 6, 7 yards, I think, and they took the lead, and Texas State got the ball back, and they couldn't get anything going there at the end to finish with the last 18 seconds left. So they tried. They tried to throw some deep balls, and it just didn't work out for them. But they got enough into semi field goal range, and then they tried a fake field goal, and it didn't work out for them. But it was a good game. It was a
I
really good game.
posed I posed this question to both of y'all because we're gonna get the insight and the breakdown on NDL game day tomorrow. So I'll just pose this question for you guys: does this win and this circumstance having to play this game early, does that give Central Michigan a boost or confidence builder for the game against Michigan in the next block?
I want to
I
say
think so.
yes, but I feel like, I mean, Chip strikes me as one of those guys that's going to be confident regardless. So
Yeah.
it definitely doesn't hurt. I think he'll have a game plan ready for Michigan, but this definitely makes his players happy, and hopefully it will make them play a little bit better against a really talented P4 school.
I agree. I think that he's a pretty confident coach, and he's going to go into the game ready to play it, regardless of whether he got an early win or not.
All right, next game on the docket is San Diego State, Big Z, shout out, against Pittsburgh.
I wonder who
uh,
you're picking for this one.
what are you guys' thoughts on this game, and who do you have winning? Yes, it's gonna be a rough block for Pittsburgh. I tell you that.
Yeah. My heart tells me Pittsburgh because I'm a huge Pitt guy. Um, but I'm going to go with San Diego State again. And I really like coaches that stay with their teams, and Big Z's a good coach, and he's gonna. I think I don't think Pitt's gonna have enough for
Yeah,
Go ahead, Sam.
we're messing this up for you so bad, Vic.
him.
Like, so if I had to break it down into top 10, I would even say maybe top five. Dealer is also one of my favorite guys in the league. So I'm stuck in another situation where I have to pick against him. But
Oh God damn, where am I?
you would be in there as well. But like
Okay,
me,
okay.
Dealer and I haven't got to interact a whole lot, but I've enjoyed watching his games now that we've been able to stream it, and he's been a pretty cool dude. This is going to be a fun one. They had a home and home on last year's game with San Diego State and Miami, and they had one of the crazier finishes that we saw in the NDL. San Diego State throwing a pick six up late with like behind their own 20, and
Yeah,
that is such a rough way. They looked like San Diego State was going to get the upset, and they don't. Now, instead of playing at Miami, you're playing at
play
Pittsburgh,
it
same coach. It's going to be a fun one. I think a good amount of points are going to be scored here, but I see San Diego State sneaking this one out late, getting some revenge. And
All I gotta say is, dealer, you better buckle the fuck up in this box. Buckle the fuck up. All right, the last game we have on the docket is the Apple Cup, Washington State and Washington. Give me a game point, points keys to the game, and who you think is gonna win. Let's go with Sammy first. Go ahead, Sam.
Washington State getting revenge from last year's game, a tough loss. It was a 2-point conversion late by Steam to pull that one out.
yeah,
Uh, this is going to be a little bit different because Washington State's on the road, so they will have to deal with some home field advantage. But I believe that Tim is going to pull this one out. Turnovers, I think, will be the key, and not Washington State turning the ball over, but Washington turning over the ball. They have the better roster, but those turnovers, I think Tim will be able to force a couple of them, and that'll end up being the difference in the game. Let them get the lead and control it from there.
yeah. I think Washington State's going to win this one as well. Tim does a really good job of playing with that team against higher ranked teams, just by knowing that team. And you know, when you watch that game last year, that was a heartbreaker. And now he's playing Washington again, and um, I just think that he should have won that game. That game should have been a lot more than a close game last year. So I think he's going to come out, like you said, I think he's going to make turnovers, and because he's really good at that. Um, I play him, so I know that he's good at that because I throw plenty of turnovers his way when we play. So I feel like he is going to control that game from the beginning, and it's going to be a tough one for Washington.
I think the key to the game is getting stops, not just getting turnovers, but getting stops because that speed for Washington is very dangerous. And I don't think Washington State has enough manpower on defense to catch up with that speed. So it's all about scheming the defense up to get stops, similar to the way in real life, if you guys saw last night's game, how Houston schemed up a way to stop and control Josh Allen. That's what Washington State needs to do against Coach Drewski in Washington is scheme up a way to get stops and to slow down Boston and Williams and the whole crew there in Washington, because that speed is definitely on another level. Uh, I got. I'm gonna roll with Washington State. It's gonna be a phrase that I'm gonna keep to myself that I'm gonna be able to use later on in the year for Washington State, but I'm not gonna use that phrase right now. I'm gonna go with Washington State.
All right. Well, we'll jump to the next segment then. Shout out to Coach Andy because this was his suggestion and a great one at that. So we'll do this weekly going forward, all of us giving our top five power rankings in the G5. So I'll start since I brought it up. I have Boise at number one. No surprise. I That was the only G5 team I had in my poll, so they stay there after going 2-0. Washington State, they were close on mine. They're undefeated. They stay number two. I have Buffalo at 3, 2-0. I expected Andy to be able to put up points with the team, and he's doing just that. ECU at number 4, very, very impressive win against NC State, but he is 2-0 in the block. And I have CMU, Central Michigan, at 5. He did have a loss, and I was kind of debating about who would be the fifth one, but thankfully Central Michigan won just before we went live, so it made it a little bit easier. Appalachian State was in my top 5. They drop out for now, but I feel confident that they will be back in at some point soon this season. Maybe not after this block, but conference play, they'll be back in there.
My top five in discretion. The lists are fluid. They're week to week. So don't get mad at us. I got ECU, of course, the rank win, boat you all the way up in my rankings. Got App State, strong showing against Arkansas. You got Boise because Boise does what Boise does. Buffalo because of Andy and that high powered offense. I have very strong faith in him and that high powered offense. And of course, the Mount Rushmore, the G5 chip, Central Michigan, rounding out my top five.
Washington State, Boise State, East Carolina, Buffalo, and Kent State. I just, I have Washington and Boise both in my top 25, and ECU is there. I think, again, Buffalo is probably going to be one of the more well rounded teams in that group. And I think Kent State's going to surprise a lot of people. But I also have UTEP there because they were a close 5 for me, and Appalachian State's going to probably not only kick down the door but run right through it, and they'll be up there again here in the next week or so. So I have a lot of faith that they're probably going to be the end up being the top team when it's all said and done.
Okay. And I pose a question to both of you based on your top 5. Give me a team going into block 2 that's not in your top 5 that has the most to gain.
They,
I'm gonna go with South Florida.
Okay.
Very winnable game. Very winnable game. South Florida.
Doc, who
I
you
think it's
got?
Appalachian State. I think that no matter what happens with Penn State, that is just going to be that's going to be a game that if he wins, that's awesome. If he loses, nobody expected any different, right? So I think that if he gets that win, as you talked about earlier, that's going to be that outlier game that's going to help him get those votes that he needs to get. And I think that that's going to be his biggest. That's going to be the biggest gain.
I'm gonna second that for pretty much the same reason you said. I see him winning against Southern Miss, so that game against Penn State will be interesting. It's one of those litmus test games to kind of see where you stand, and the better of a showing that he has, the better it helps him for the end of the season.
Yeah, and if he keeps that Penn State game close, that only helps him even more. So that is going to be the team I think has the biggest game.
All right. And as we're winding down, uh, want to give a shout out to some of the coaches in the G5. It doesn't necessarily have to be for games played, in terms of performance, but just, whoever you want to shout out. My personal shout out this week, I want to give a shout out to 6 Feet at Kent State. He is 2-0. And it's not necessarily because he's 2-0, it's because he's already met his win goal. That has to be such a great feeling. I'm sure he wanted to keep Texas A&M. Things didn't work out last season, so you take a school with a very low win goal, like literally the lowest win goal you can have at 2, and he's already accomplished that in block 1. So everything from this point on is just icing on the cake. So
The
kudos to Six
chairman.
Feet.
The chairman. Doc, who's your shout out of the week?
I'm going to go with App State, like just what they did against Arkansas, and I think that alone is a huge shout out to go in there and almost pull that thing out. So
Of course, I got a few preliminary shout outs again. Shout out X Cross, aka Mr. Omaha. Shout out to Jordan over there in USF. Shout out to Wobbles, my week one opponent. Did play me well. But my biggest shout out of the week is Pirate Flag because that was a statement win. He sent a statement, and that was a statement win that I am here. And I love that he went and challenged himself out the gate, week one, and fulfilled the challenge. So I love it.
I want to second him for a second reason that some people may not know in the league. If you're in Discord, go look under that NDL Media Hub tab. Go to videos.
Oh my
Pirate
god.
Flag, his weekly videos are hilarious, and he's been posting other stuff in there as well. It's a new tab that just got opened up this season. You are missing out if you do not look in there. He's been posting great content there. So shout out for Pirate Flag, not only for getting a big win, but for providing some laughs across the board in the NDL so far this season.
This week in the NDL is a much must watch. Well, Doc, we got a new segment there, which is your segment.
yeah. So
What?
I'm gonna come with some people that kind of stood out over the weeks and throughout the season, and we're gonna kind of have our own little awards watch. And I would like to call it the Marshall Falk Award for the top G5 player. Um,
I like
so
it.
some of the guys that stood out for me in the first block. Um, you had OJ Arnold, who had 400 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns. Um, Darius Clark, 24 catches, 217 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then John Michael Gallenberg from Wyoming, who had 16 catches for 249 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's actually going to be my guy to watch as the season goes on. Um, he's a fantastic tight end from Wyoming. Um, Mark uses him really well in his game plan. He doesn't overuse him. He doesn't underuse him. Um, Malik Murphy, quarterback, Oregon State. Go Malik. 759 yards passing, 10 touchdowns, 1 interception for a QB rating of 239.2. And Braylon Braxton from Southern Miss, 846 yards, 7 touchdowns with a 205.3 QBR so far. But it's kind of something that we're just going to kind of follow some guys and see what we get by the end of the year and put a poll up and see who wins the first Marshall Falk Award.
I like that.
Love it. I love the name. I love it.
But as I was going through the stats, it's a like I Appalachian State didn't have his stats in, and I was like, I know I'm gonna have like 3 running backs on that team. But he didn't have his stats in, so I encourage everybody to get their stats in, get your guys called out, and get them on a list.
All right, Vic.
Oh, well, you know what it's time for. The Ball Nor Fact segment of the week. This is for the Ball Nors. This is about one conference that in 1 year in the final poll had the number one, number two, and number three teams ranked one, two, three in the same conference. Can you guys tell me? Can you guys guess who was the number one team that year?
Well, I feel like I have a good guess, but I feel like I also shouldn't guess for that reason.
Doc, do
Um,
you have a guess? You can just throw any team out there. I kind of gave a hint before the pod.
Georgia?
Sammy, who do you think?
well, I'm looking at them on my screen 'cause I got my PlayStation on, so I'm going to say Nebraska.
That is correct. Nebraska was the number one team in 1971. So in 1971, if some ball knowers out there, old school ball knowers out there, there was a game called the Game of the Century, I believe, that was done that year between number one Nebraska and number two Oklahoma. It may have been number two Nebraska and number one Oklahoma. And Nebraska came out on top of that game and went on to win the national championship that year, being ranked number one. Oklahoma was ranked number two, and that team that you really don't want me to mention was ranked number three in Colorado. This is the only time that that has ever happened. They were a part of the Big Eight conference at the time. The Big Eight became the Big 12, of course, merging with the Southwest Conference in 1996. But before then, most of the conference members were part of the Big Eight, and the number one, number two, and number three teams in the country to end the year in the final poll were from the same conference, and that was the only time that ever happened.
My biggest
Wow.
takeaway is that Nebraska beat Oklahoma. That should be no surprise.
Actually, it should be a surprise because Oklahoma whooped that ass a lot of time during that history of that
Hey, hey,
rivalry.
hey. I'm a Nebraska fan. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's
Oh
sad. It's
yeah,
sad that
whatever,
they don't
NCS.
have that game. It's sad they don't really have that game
Oh,
at
no, it's
home.
a good thing we don't really have that game. Not right now. Let us try to level up real quick. We need to do some offline. It's like, like an RPG. Your that difficulty spike when that boss jumps up. We need to play offline a little bit, grind some levels before we go back and try to beat that boss. That's where Nebraska's at, right?
But that is the ball Noah fact of the week right there. Number one, two, and three teams all in the same conference. The only time that happened was in 1971. And Nebraska was number one, Oklahoma number two, Colorado number three.
Wow.
All right.
Oh yeah, we give real ball no facts around here. This is the real
That's you
deal.
know what, it's crazy to me because you look at like these SEC teams now, or even these Big Ten teams, and to not have three out of the same conference as a 1, 2, 3. That's crazy.
Well, I mean, you could possibly do it in this era of the 12-team playoff,
Right.
but it just depending on how it shakes out, and like you have to have two teams from the same conference in the national championship. And it
Yeah.
has to be a close game. It has like it has to, it's a different set of rules because back then all three of those teams played different people in
Yep.
different bowl games. So it was a different set of circumstances. See, one of those two teams has to play a classic against the number three team and then have a classic against each other in the national championship game. And that's how that would work in the modern day.
Right.
It's good to hear something nice about Nebraska for a change.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
it's
it's a
been
good
a
thing. Good.
weird month, but we'll go ahead and wrap things up. And I'm really mad at myself. Big Vic can vouch. I was so upset at the end of the last show because I wanted to talk about this as the closing thought, and we got to talking about the ball knower fact, and it completely slipped my mind. So, Coach Boss Ranger is not playing with us this season. And for those of you that pay attention to the live chat, he's in track. His dad, Coach Randog, posting pictures as you would expect, someone proud of their kid doing a great job. Some really unfortunate health struggles going on, and just wanted to give a shout out to those two. Obviously, Coach Boss Ranger, hoping that he is on the up and up on the recovery and that things get better and he can get back into playing the sports that he enjoys. And best wishes to the family. Randolph, keep us updated on how your kid's doing, and we wish the best for you guys.
Absolutely.
Definitely prayers up to you guys, and hopefully he makes it through better on the other side. Full of
Totally
health,
agree.
full of health, 100% healthy.
Now, with that said, we are going to shut down here. So, we all would like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, except for Iowa, because that's no one's going to be rooting for the Iowa Hawkeyes this upcoming weekend. Why would they, right? Um,
Or Florida.
fair enough. Don't let Jiggy hear that though. He'll 35
Fuck him and the Gators.
you. But everyone have a great Thanksgiving weekend next week. Make sure that you tune in to game day tomorrow morning. Get your votes in if you have not. I'm actually pulling it up right at the conclusion of this, but also stick around because Drew Baca and Beer Cop are starting their podcast, Drunk on Downs, and they'll be going live here shortly. So tune in to them. Enjoy the NDL content tonight and have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night.
Oh, and breaking news to people who haven't heard. Looks like Lane Kiffin is going to LSU.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
90 million.
What?
I would too.
Yep.
Damn,
Yep.
they just throw money at people.
Yep. Now we can sign off, you guys. See you later.
Yeah.
Yeah. See ya. Congrats, Lane. Congrats.